How different would your life be if you didn't suffer from ADHD paralysis every day? Well, in today's video, we're going to be discussing why this happens and what we can do to fix it, so that we can definitely manage our next ADHD paralysis moment together. I lived through this. I've experienced ADHD paralysis so many times, and I never really knew what to call it or what it was. The thing about it was I always felt so misunderstood. I felt like when people would see me lying down on my bed or on the couch, and it could be friends or family, I would feel so lazy. But I knew that I wasn't being lazy because my brain was constantly telling me that I had things to do. Like I needed to get up, I needed to go train, for example, I needed to go to the gym, I needed to do even basic things like brush my teeth or go for a shower. It sounds so like embarrassing to admit, but there were times where I wouldn't shower for days because it just felt like so much effort. And obviously this is a long time ago now, but it almost feels as if you can't beat that moment because everything I wanted to do just felt impossible to achieve. I mean, no matter what, it just felt like there was this weighted blanket stuffed on top of me, suffocating me and drowning me from achieving my potential. And then it would result in this negative feedback loop from hell where I would start to feel shit about feeling shit, and I would start to feel guilty about feeling guilty, about knowing I should be doing these things, I should be taking a shower, I should be doing these basic human survival skills, but I just can't. Like I physically could not do it. So if we can understand what is causing those moments for us, we can then try to eliminate the amount of times it happens and try to prevent it in the future. But I do need to make this clear, guys. There is not one quick fix for ADHD paralysis. It's not going to be, whoa, I watched this video on ADHD Insights and he said it would work and it's definitely going to work right now. Like, no, like it's going to take you to actually sit there and really try it. And that is going to sound impossible to a lot of you. Maybe some of you are going to click off this video right now, but you need to understand that this is a process. It's not going to happen overnight. It's going to require you to really sit there and work on this. So it's important to understand there will be moments where it feels like the whole world is just swallowing you up and spitting you back out. It damages your confidence, your belief, even damages who you think you are and what you think you can achieve. It can even make you feel like you're some destined failure, like you were never destined for anything great. And I get goosebumps talking about it, guys. And I don't know if you can see that, but yeah, there we go. I don't even see those goosebumps I get, but when I talk about this, I get so passionate because I've been there, I've struggled through it. And on that last video, which I'll leave comments here, you guys really do struggle with this as well. And that's why I really want to help you with this video. So about that feedback loop from hell, let's talk about that really quickly. I actually stole this from Mark Manson's book, The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck. In this book, he actually talks about this interesting phenomenon, I think you can call it, called the feedback loop from hell. It essentially means, let's say you're upset. You then start to say like, why am I always upset all the time? Like, why do I feel like I'm such a failure? And then you're upset about being upset, which you guessed it, is only going to cause you to be more upset. And this is the feedback loop from hell. So how do we fix that? At first, we accept the negative. So whatever negative experience you're currently going through, you accept that. You understand that this is just part of the journey and that like it will get better. Like it just will. And I think a lot of people don't have that belief, especially with ADHD. It's so easy to be so negative all the time. Then we can have also like, you know, the burst of like, yes, we're going to achieve everything, and bang, back to ADHD paralysis the next day. You've got to accept that there is probably over 1 billion human beings in the world right now that are upset just like you. And once you kind of have that perspective and understand that it isn't the end of the world being upset, it isn't the end of the world just being in this experience, it's not going to kill you. Like it's not going to kill you. And that's not to take away from that experience, because like I said before, guys, I've been there. I know how painful it is. It's like a physical pain. And that's what people don't get. It's like almost if I scratched this down a chalkboard and you heard that friction. That's what it feels like when you're trying to do something with ADHD paralysis. But the reason why perspective is so important is because if you're sitting there desiring a more positive experience, that in itself is a negative experience because you're not even enjoying the moment you're in. And paradoxically, by enjoying that negative experience or accepting that negative experience, you're then having a positive experience. And again, I actually stole this from this book. I just highly recommend reading this. It has nothing to do with ADHD, but the amount of life lessons in there that somehow correlate to ADHD, it does make me laugh. Like it actually does. I'm not laughing, but it does. And like I said, guys, like ADHD in general has ruined relationships for me, made me miss appointments, and it's given me a lot of ADHD tax as well. It fucked up uni for me because I couldn't even submit the assignments on time, and I would just sit there feeling guilty because I knew that like I wanted to do it, but I just couldn't. I physically could not move. So I want to go into this kind of theory about like this freeze mode, and what's interesting about fight or flight is they never seem to mention the third option, which is freeze. You see, this happens when our brain fails to identify anything as a real danger. Because our brain, although it is very smart, it still has a caveman aspect to it. And that caveman aspect to it was never brought up with social media or bullying on the internet. So when these situations happen, our brain doesn't really know how to react. It's never really experienced this. Obviously, if you're fighting off a tiger back in the day or fighting off a wolf or something, the brain is meant to react to that by fighting or flying. There's a reason for it. The freeze response is to keep you safe. Have you ever seen like a prey act dead and the predator tends to just leave it alone or walk off because it's just not interested anymore? It's the reason why we have this built inside of us. The freeze response part of our brain is there for a reason. And this normally happens to people that go through intense trauma and is very similar to what we experience with ADHD paralysis. It's all happening in our prefrontal cortex. And the reason I point out there is because it literally, all our decision making happens at the front of our brain. So one big fix I can give you guys is we need to re-engage the body. What do I mean by that? You need to get active. That doesn't mean obviously stand up and go for a run, but that just means moving your hands. Just doing this. Chuck your hands around, stomp your feet, smack around, make a beat. By doing this, it's going to help us snap out of that ADHD paralysis episode. And these are very simple things, guys, you can implement at any time. Like you can literally do it while you're doom scrolling on your phone, just being aware of your surroundings. Look around, what's in your room? Like, cool, here's the book, here's the water bottle, there's a bag in my corner. Just look around the objects in your room, and that is going to bring you from being inside your head. Because when you're having the ADHD paralysis moment, as many of you guys can relate, you're stuck inside of your brain. It's almost like you're dissociating from real life. Like you're just replaying constant negative feedback loops from hell. Like I said in this book, it really is the same thing. Now, in the last video about ADHD paralysis, we spoke about the car analogy and how having a lack of dopamine or our neurotransmitters is what is leading us to have these ADHD paralysis moments. If you're unfamiliar with what I'm talking about, you guys can watch it here. So yeah, another reason you could be feeling stuck is due to low dopamine, guys. So obviously with our baseline dopamine, it is a lot lower. And I have spoke about this in another video, which I'll link. So with our dopamine, guys, obviously if it's going to be lower than say someone who is neurotypical, we are going to struggle to get up to there. And if we're already having a bad day as it is, and we're already down here, of course we're not going to want to do anything. Of course we're going to feel paralyzed and stuck because we have no fuel. It's just like a car. It knows how to get there. It has a sat nav, it has wheels, it has an engine, but it doesn't have the most important thing, which is fuel. That is what makes the car go, and our fuel is dopamine. That's what pushes us forward. That's what makes humans do things. It's what makes us chase rewards. So we can manage this, guys, by getting in exercise, getting in good nutrition, eating the right foods, high protein foods, red meat, things like this, making sure we're getting our greens, a well-balanced diet, and also making sure we're drinking at least 2 liters of water a day. This is so essential, guys, and this is a non-negotiable. I know a lot of you will sit there and argue me and say, I do all that, but you really don't. And I'm sorry to hold you accountable. I'm not trying to come from this place of I'm better than you, but you really don't do that enough, because I don't do it enough. And I know that I don't drink enough water all the time. I know that I don't eat the right foods all the time. And I just wonder why sometimes my brain is feeling, foggy, or I'm feeling a bit like all over the place. And it's because I'm not treating myself properly. I'm not looking after myself. And it is hard with ADHD. I'm not saying that it's super easy to go look after yourself, because we've got so many things going through our brain. Like even when I'm recording this video right now, guys, I've got like 17 million thoughts racing around. I just understand that one at a time. If I forget them, I forget them. And I'm learning to accept that. By having good nutrition and good sleep, guys, we can really help to minimize the amount of times we have an ADHD paralysis moment, as it's going to boost our dopamine naturally. One thing I want to talk about as well is gaining momentum. You see, the thing with ADHD is once we gain that initial momentum, we're kind of unstoppable. And that's the thing I love about us, is if we keep going, we tend to stack it up quite high. And sometimes we can have a really big fall off. That does happen if we, overwork ourselves or bombard ourselves. But a lot of the times, as long as we keep steady momentum, we tend to avoid these ADHD paralysis moments. So by not sitting down or taking a little 5-minute break, because we've been there, I've been there. The amount of times I said, I'm going to take 5 minutes, I'm going to relax on my phone, and I chuck on an alarm. Before you know, I'm like, fuck this, I'm so tired, I'm so dead. And I end up spending 4 hours doom scrolling, and I achieve nothing except from a bit of dopamine from stupid TikTok and Instagram reels. Breaking down tasks. On last video as well, I did speak about this, breaking down tasks, and I actually got a lot of comments saying that this actually overwhelms a lot of people. So I kind of want to go into a bit more detail about it. For example, say if it's washing the dishes, I'm not saying you need to break it down to 20 million steps, but break it down into three manageable steps. First one, let's get up. Just stand up. Stand up, now we're going to walk. We're just going to walk. No objective yet, we're just going to walk. And now we're going to walk past the kitchen. Boom. Now we're in the kitchen. Now we're most likely going to do that activity, because now our brain's telling us we're not that stupid. Okay, we can dishwasher. So by combining movement and breaking down tasks, you'll find yourself being able to escape those ADHD paralysis moments. If you want to learn more about the different types of ADHD paralysis, guys, just click here and check this video out. Apart from that, guys, if you did enjoy the video today, please subscribe. Let me know in the comments below, how does ADHD paralysis affect you in your day-to-day life? And if you feel this video helps you out, please share it around, guys. Please share it to other people that you know are struggling with ADHD. This is one of the most spoke about but unspoken about things in the ADHD community. We speak about it a lot, but in the general community, no one really knows how much we suffer. And if we can shed more awareness and light on this situation, I do think we can start to see a real change.